Imagine a 4-year-old at the playgroup has been playing with a trike for ages. Another child wants a turn. So his mum puts her hand on the trike and says, "Excuse me, you've had a very long turn on that trike. It's time to share." The mum thinks she's being reasonable and asking politely, but the 4-year-old thinks she's glaring and hostile. The child bursts into tears and runs for safety. I was that 4-year-old. Now I'm bigger and stronger than any 4-year-old. How can I encourage affectionate play between children who aren't necessarily my children without intimidating them? And what can I actually follow up on? My name is Eliza Southwell, and this is how I train my children well. So here are 3 really common strategies for getting kids to share. First of all, waiting your turn. This is how jumping castles and fair rides work. Everyone hops on for 5 minutes, then everyone hops off, and the first 15 kids waiting in line get their turn. You can have another turn if you wait in line again. Second strategy, using a timer to take turns. Same idea, but applied at home. There's a physical timer that the sad, deprived child can see and hear, and the timer acts as an impartial arbiter. When it goes off, it's time to swap toys. Third common strategy, playing together. So both children have one truck each, instead of one child having both the trucks. Toddlers might play in the same space. 3-year-olds might play an integrated game with both toys. My bear whacks your giraffe and your giraffe runs away, and so on. Each of these strategies can be very successful, but what if you've tried them and they've backfired spectacularly with your child? I know for my own child that these strategies can make him resentful, frustrated, and defiant. I still use them. I just take care not to back myself into a corner. For example, sometimes we only have 2 trucks, and my 2-year-old is fixated on an idea that requires testing with 2 trucks. What happens if I throw them at each other? How do they bounce off? Which direction will they bounce off? In that case, there is a legitimate development-based reason for him to want both trucks. And it's okay for him to want that. Punishing him by removing one of his trucks is only going to make him more determined to satisfy that curiosity. If he's motivated by curiosity, I leave him alone to run his experiment. If he's motivated to hurt another child and triumph over them, then that's uncivilized. And uncivilized boys need to calm down in a quiet place. But the pitfall that I want to dive into today is more confronting. What do I do when someone doesn't want to take turns? If I set a timer to take turns, what if both children are dissatisfied? One child feels stressed that his toy will soon be removed, and he doesn't have the mental space to actually figure it out and investigate the toy. The other child can't think of anything else but that toy, and triumphs over her opponent when she finally granted control. If I tell my child, "Oh, he'll stop playing with it soon, and then you can have it." Well, what if the other child won't stop playing with it? Do I back down, or do I persuade the other child to hand it over? That usually feels like intimidating someone much smaller than me. What I'm tempted to do is make them take turns. And how can I do that exactly? Put my hands on the other child or their toy? Difficult. Maybe inappropriate. The other option is to persuade them. And the uncomfortable truth about persuading someone who's much smaller and weaker than me is that it's an unfair negotiation that can very easily slip into me intimidating them. Even if I don't mean it to. I don't want to make any child afraid of me. 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." A bit of clarity here. Taking turns is not a moral absolute. It's a game that 3-year-olds can happily play with each other if they decide to. But if the other child doesn't want to play that game, I can't in good conscience intimidate them into compliance. I think usually the reason that children agree to play this game is because they know that maybe the alternative is a fight between the 2 children and they want to avoid that. I think Me Too women made us aware of the tyranny of power. They were intimidated by people who ought to have protected them. Isaiah 10 verses 1 and 2 says, "Woe to those who decree unrighteous decrees, who write misfortune which they have prescribed, to rob the needy of justice, and to take what is right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless." Power is nothing if not a responsibility to protect. So, according to the Bible, how should I respond to a child who I disagree with or I'm opposed to? In Matthew 5 verse 44, Jesus says, "But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you." Paul picks up the same idea in Romans 12, 17 to 19. "Repay no one evil for evil. If they wrong you, don't wrong them back. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men. if it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. That includes irritating 2-year-olds. Beloved, do not avenge yourselves, but rather give place to wrath. That means God's justice. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. That doesn't mean do nothing, say nothing. It means asking, how can I be a blessing to that child? When Montgomery was 2.5, we were walking through a shopping centre and he saw one of those little children's rides. He doesn't know that they move and make noise, actually. And there were 3 seats that went around in a circle. There was a plane, a boat, and a motorbike. So we sat on the motorbike for a while because that's his favourite. Then he moved to the plane. And while he was on the plane, another 2.5-year-old came up and sat on the boat. And after a few minutes, Montgomery was pretty keen to do the trifecta and try the boat as well. I could see that he was thinking about forcing his way onto the boat. So I said, that boy's having a look at it right now. Maybe he'll sit on another one soon. We will wait. And that boy became enthralled in a new game. How to taunt Montgomery into a fight for supremacy. He reckoned that if it came to shoving and screaming, he would win. I doubt it. We had been working on fixing Montgomery's bullying at the time. But anyway, we must have waited 5 minutes before I said, Montgomery, we'll keep going in 30 seconds. And Montgomery said, but I didn't ride the boat yet. And how I responded was, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh well. The anguish was writ large on my child's face, and the other boy was delighted. His father was standing close by, seemingly oblivious to Montgomery and I. Now that I think about it, he probably didn't have much English. Anyway, he wasn't about to intervene and encourage his son to share, and I make a point of never intervening to get Montgomery something that another child has, for this reason that I don't want to intimidate them. So we left, and I made no promises, but after we finished shopping, we came back the same way. The boy was gone, and Montgomery had a ride after all. I want to be a blessing to both children. With my son, I moderate his expectations, I don't promise him anything, and I grieve with him when he doesn't get what he wants. With the other child, I think the answer is to suggest rather than try to persuade. I prefer not to appeal to them directly at all. Instead, I give them something to overhear. I'll tell my own child, maybe he'll sit in one of the others soon. And then I'll leave him to decide whether he's actually going to do that. More often than not, by the time I walk in, they're already past the negotiation stage and they're actively fighting over the ride or the book. So how can I train my son when he's the one snatching? Subscribe for notifications if you want the answer to that next week. That's all for today on The Well-Trained Child.